Hello and welcome to the Berkcast Dragon Podcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is,
Wolf.
and we are probably a week late at doing this, but the reason why we waited for this to actually talk about this is that we were supposed to have someone who was at the Annecy convention and saw the footage, but sadly things didn't work out. So we're talking about it now, better late than never. So today we're going to talk about the how to target the hidden world footage that was shown at the Annecy convention, and we're also going to we're going to talk about what people saw and what Dean said and everything from what was released to the public. So
Mostly
Wolf,
about
are you
what Dean
ready?
said, because that's mostly what we've all seen, because that's all we can see.
Yeah.
But
So
maybe.
yeah, maybe. Also, before we just want to say that just recently, an interview with Dean DeBlois was uploaded to YouTube where he says Drago won't be returning for the third film, which means, as far as we're concerned, Drago did suffocate underwater, and a Berkcast joke is now officially canon.
I like how you say suffocate underwater when you could just say he drowned.
But that's not professional. We need to be more artistic with
I
our
mean,
language.
you can't. Sure. Sure.
Do you dare question my choice?
I question the choice of the word suffocate, yes.
That's the same word I used back in the episode.
And I still question it now.
Basically, he drowned. He drowned. He dead. He screamed underwater, and now he couldn't breathe, and that's the end of Drago. But
We
we'll
should
talk
be.
about it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll talk about it more in a future episode. Maybe even futuristic than you think, but we don't know yet. So let's actually talk about footage from Annecy. This was 2 weeks. So let's see here. As far as I've heard, four scenes were shown. There were four scenes there. So let's just go over it. The first scene is called First Date. And I really have wrote an article about this. In an emotive clip, very reminiscent of the forbidden friendship scene in the first How to Train a Dragon, First Date is a wordless scene beside a moonlight lake during which Titus gets acquainted with his love interest, the Light Fury. Hiccup is hiding nearby to Titus the confidence to go to get to know her. I'm a fan of sequences that can be driven by music, absence of dialogue, the Blast said, and I'm with him on that. Toothless is the last of his kind, and he has been living with humans for a while. So it seems the perfect setup for a bumbling first date with the Light Fury, who is more in tone with her wild nature. It's also the kind of sequence we love in animation because it relies on pantomime. We definitely wanted to reference the forbidden friendship scene from the first film, partly because it is again a communion between two characters, and also because it goes back to the first installment of the trilogy, and I love giving it a sense of unity. But as the scene concludes, the Light Fury takes to the sky. Toothless, who is unable to fly without Hiccup, controlling his prosthetic tail, is unable to follow. So we pretty much saw all of this in the trailer, most of it,
Yeah.
and my opinion still stand. I still think some of the stuff Toothless pulls out, like some of the movements he does in order to woo the Light Fury, are actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did tell my friend to try this try the jumping bit from the end of the trailer. Try this at the bar to impress a girl. As I expected, it didn't work out.
I'm
But
more
it was
impressed
one.
that your friend bothered to try and humor you.
Well, sometimes you just don't know what might work, and
I think you
Toothless
do.
looks so. Well, Toothless looks so adorable, so he thought maybe the adorableness would actually transfer to him. Guess what? It didn't. at least it didn't blame me. And also, based on the trailer, there's a good chance Toothless's attempts ended in failure as well, and that's one thing I do want to see for, in the entire movie as well. This scene when it's completed and in the final cut, which is how does the dragon that spends so much time with humans going to communicate with a dragon that probably never saw a human, and like the trained versus the wild, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Also, if this is the forbidden friendship of what was friendship in the second one?
I would say there wasn't one. Although I guess supposedly, well, I guess you could look at the scene where Hiccup first meets Valka, where, well, yeah, that scene and like the scene before it, where we see Hiccup kind of trying to be friendly with the dragons and kind of, show that he doesn't mean them harm by doing the whole thing with the silverback gas from his sword and lighting it and kind of then turning his sword on fire.
That's what I say as well.
That's what I would say would be your kind of reminiscent of forbidden friendship scene, would be that scene in the second movie, since there's no dialogue there until Valka finally says, "A mother never forgets," and all that.
I would maybe even mother scene for the most part, because there's barely any dialogue in it. It's just them doing stuff in the air.
True.
Well, it's debatable for debate. You guys, what is the forbidden friendship of How to Train Dragon 2? You tell us. But I do like that they are trying to, because something I do notice with trilogies is that the third film always seems to try and connect to the first one more than the second one. So I like the idea. If they needed to choose one scene to quote unquote replicate, it's this scene, especially considering what we know about the story. And I just love the idea that, again, Toothless is so connected to humans that he's pretty much relying on Hiccup's tips on calling a dragon. That's, you know what, that may be the spin-off movie afterwards, How to Coach Your Dragon.
Oh, good lord.
It will be a romantic comedy. Guy who wrote Sonic 06, but that's another joke, which I had to do because today is the franchise birthday and I have no life. Anyway, anything you want to say about First Date? I pretty much read this entire conversation.
No, I don't think there's anything more to really add other than what's already been said, so... Yay!
Yay! Next. Okay, Automatic Tail. The First Date clip seems to lead to Automatic Tail, during which Hiccup builds an automatic tail, allowing Toothless to independently fly and get to know the Light Fury. Hiccup places the tail on Toothless, who takes to the sky as Hiccup watches from the ground. Hiccup clearly has mixed emotions as Toothless flies away with his new tail, the boss said. Okay, before we talk about it, can I just say, can you imagine Dean having this idea in his mind since 2010? Like, that he knew, in the third movie, I'm going to make a scene like this, and all of a sudden Gift of the Night Fury comes out and he's like, shit.
Well, he made Gift of the Night Fury, so I don't think that's an issue.
No, I'm not sure how, he didn't direct it. I can guarantee you that much, but I'm not sure how much involvement it did have with it.
I assume he had to have some.
You know what? It may be what Google afterward. You know what? Okay, I pretty much led the first date scene talk, so you lead this one while I'll do it.
I mean, okay. What do I say? Okay, this is definitely something we didn't see in the trailer. I guess in the trailer that we got, like there was nothing in there that hinted at Hiccup making an automatic tail for Toothless. Although I'm guessing probably a few eagle-eyed people saw that Toothless did look like he might have had a new tail fin at some point in the trailer. I don't know.
It's possible.
So, but Other than that, this is definitely something we haven't seen, and nothing from this has been shown other than at Annecy, so we can only speculate as to what it would look like or anything. I'm guessing it'd be very similar to the one from Gift from the Night Fury. And yeah, yay again. This definitely looks like, they're, the start of the Hiccup and Toothless kind of moving away from one another storyline as well, and how Hiccup does learn to start standing on his own more instead of being with Toothless. Although, based on seeing Hiccup with a beard, still with Toothless, we'll see where things go, I suppose.
Okay. So I looked at Dim DeBlah was an executive producer on Gift of the Night Fury, so he might as well. He didn't made it, but he had a part in it, so that's something. So, but again, it just sounds like a very similar scene. Although here Toothless doesn't come back, and he doesn't destroy the, at least as far as we know. And but again, I do like that conflicting side of Hiccup wants Toothless to be happy, but at the same time, Toothless being happy maybe needs to be like Toothless just being on his own and away from Hiccup, and it all plays to the entire. It plays to the entire to come to his own and the dueling storyline scene that people talked about, and it may even connect to the part in the trailer where we see Hiccup is riding Stonefly with Astrid when they find the hidden world.
Yeah, that would probably make the most sense. Like Hiccup wanted to follow Toothless and the Light Fury to wherever they decide to go. So yeah, I agree. That actually does make a lot of sense. That definitely could be the thing there.
This may just because if you remember when we talked about the trailer, I said that the calling scene, like the first date scene we just talked about, that I think it's still taking place in the quote unquote regular world and not the hidden one, as the trailer shows. Considering the fact that I said that the automatic tail scene comes right after the first date scene, I'm starting to think I may have been right there, but who knows, right?
It is possible.
Okay, so next one, Rescue Mission. Already love the name. Like, if you put this name on the soundtrack, I'm sold.
I can read this one out if you want me to. I'll take reading the next two out to switch it up a bit. Rescue Mission. In this energy-filled opening sequence, the gang is back with a sloppy attempt to rescue some trapped dragons. We wanted to open the movie with a little bit of mystery and a lot of fun, something that sets up the stakes in their world and reintroduces the characters, DeBlois said. He noted that this film introduces some dragons that includes the Hobgobbler, which he likened to a beach ball and described as a little round dragon that's sort of a cross between a bullfrog and a French bulldog, and the Crimson Goregutter, a stately old grump of a dragon, very protective.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Grimmel's dragon is the Crimson Goregutter.
Could be.
That is my guess. As of right now, that is his dragon.
Well, seeing the two descriptions, I do think that it can be the Hobgobbler, because that dragon doesn't look like a beach ball. No, does a bulldog or so it may be the Crimson.
I mean, with the face, it could have a bit of a French bulldog look, with the teeth and everything. But yeah, I don't see beach ball at all from that dragon. So I'm going to assume Crimson Goregutter just seems like it fits that description a bit more.
Also, I have the picture of Grimmel and the dragon right here. With these teeth, with these teeth, I don't think I can really compare him to a beach ball. This thing is going to gut something.
Yeah.
I can see Kratos riding this.
Possibly.
Or at least old Kratos, not the new one who's a bit, tiny bit more reserved.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Yeah. Anyway, I do like the opening with an action sequence. Again, very reminiscent of the first one because in the first movie we basically got introduced to this world through an action sequence, the
Mhm.
dragons attacking Berk. So here we have the Berkians saving dragons. So it's kind of like in the first date thing. It's similar, but it's also different. It's also different, and I like that. I like that idea of to introduce characters, you give them an action sequence, and I think it's cool. And he says that there's a bit of mystery and a lot of fun. So it kind of combines also a bit of the dragon racing scene from How to Train Dragon 2, where they relied on the fun, introducing the characters through a fun sport game. So
Mhm.
it's combination of two worlds. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Agreed.
What else did I want to say? Um, yeah, I think I pretty much got it all out. Anything you want to add to this
Um.
scene? As Aside from the fact I want to see it already, and something tells me in the trailer there's the shot of like a ship exploding and all the dragons flying towards it,
Mhm.
and maybe also the scene of Hiccup flying towards us, telling him, showing what you got, about, then put it on the helmet, and maybe the scene where they walk through the fire. I think that might be the scene.
Yeah. It could be. I would agree. Um. To add to it, I don't think there's much I can say, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um. Our first hint of dragons rescue riders, I guess,
Hmm. I'm
because
still
rescue
not
mission.
sure. Yeah, I'm still not sure if this is actually going to be a thing or not.
We will see.
Well, like when this actually, if this will be confirmed, we'll do an episode about it. But right now, we just don't have anything to go. For all we know, this might have been canceled.
Yeah.
Again, for all we know. Okay, so next one, Berk overcrowded.
Okay. Burke overcrowded. And I guess before I start off, I want to say I was right when we talked about the trailer. It looked like they were probably going to be covering some overcrowding issues on Burke.
Yeah,
So I was right. Yay, again. But,
yeah.
anyways,
So both points apparently.
hmm
Go us.
this scene, exactly as it sounds, introduces one of the problems in the story. An overcrowded Viking village of humans and dragons. In order to maintain their way of life, they need a better plan. Their home island can no longer sustain and protect them, Debla explained, adding that the scene is also a fun way to meet other ancillary characters. While Grimald doesn't appear in these clips, Debla describes his new villain, voiced
Well,
by.
so you know what? Wait, before we actually talk about Green, let's focus on the scene and then move on to him because
Okay,
I've heard something. I've heard something about this that I do want to talk about.
right, sure.
But anyway, so Belkov Accord is probably like you said, it's probably the scene where we see the Dragon Utopia, and
We have
Gobber
Gobber
says
says
Gobber actually says
a
the Utopia
utopia for
for
you.
you,
Yeah.
man.
Yep.
Uh, so this could be an interesting thing to after we see, especially because looking at the trailer again, when we first see Berk, we see all the Dragon Riders coming back to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean, like so you could argue maybe they came back from that rescue mission all the way to Berk, and then we actually see the problem of the movie. Like this is the turning point.
Yeah.
We see that Berk is overcrowded, and we see actually exactly how this utopia is functioning.
I think I said
And
it before, but if I haven't, I'll say it now. If I have, I'm going to say it again. Hiccup is the crazy cat lady of dragons. Except instead of involving just his own house, he's involved an entire island and village with his
yeah,
problem.
that's that's a good point. But also, I something about the way something about the way Dean says their home island can no longer sustain and protect them. Maybe this, I'm not sure if this will be so early in the movie, but maybe this also leads to Hiccup's speech about them needing to leave.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say, well, I mean, it's worth pointing out, like he says, sustain and protect them. Sustain, I would say, comes from the idea of there just being too many dragons and too many people, right? So, they're no longer able to be, all of them can't live on Berk and have enough food and everything else to go around and keep themselves, and work with the upkeep and the costs of all that. Protect, I would say, and we have learned a bit about this, and I guess it does involve it, so I'm going to go ahead and say it now, that even if we don't see Drago in the third movie, we do get the remnants of his army, and there apparently being a lot of warlords who want to attack Berk. And apparently that's one of the things they do, is attack Berk. What seems like fairly often, I suppose. So when they say protect, I'm assuming that's what they mean by it can no longer protect them, just because they can't keep continually dealing with attack after attack after attack after Drago's army has been kind of doing its own thing, because, an army that large doesn't just disband when its leader disappears on them.
That's actually because going between the Variety post you sent me and the Hollywood Reporter one, and in the Variety ones, they actually go into a bit more detail. So this is a bit of a segue here. So the main narrative takes place about a year after Dragons 2. Hiccup has created a Berk Dragon Viking utopia, but it's near impossibly overcrowded and threatened by surviving warlords, holdovers from Drago's army in Dragon 2, who hired the urbane peroxide blonde Scandinavia Russian accented Grimmel, who has killed all the other Night outside Hiccups. So that, if we are going to take Drago out of the equation, like Dean said would happen, then that's an interesting way to actually connect, because if Drago's army is the one hired Grimmel to pretty much lead them to victory, and maybe they could say this guy and his Night Fury, and that immediately sparks this vendetta from Grimmel against, there's one I didn't catch. Boom. There's your story. There's boom. So I think that's, if this is actually happens in the movie, then I think it's great. It's a great way to tie it to the second one, and not to look like, okay, so Drago's gone. What was the point of him? No. His army actually wants revenge. His army wants Hiccup dead to some extent.
Even if his army doesn't want revenge, it's a good way to show that that army, that all of those people didn't just disband and go home. They had probably nowhere else to go. Their homes might have been destroyed. They had Drago to kind of lead and look up to, and without him, they kind of just devolve into
that
lashing out.
This may also connect to the rescue mission. Rescue dragons from Drago's army.
Yep. I don't disagree. I would suspect they probably caught some. They go out to rescue them and bring them back to an already overcrowded Berk.
Yeah. This would actually be funny if Drago's army showed up as soon as the Bewildered Beast dives into the water. And it's well, our boss is dead. Shall we go and fill retirement papers? Yeah, sure. Let's go. Anyway, so that's already. So I can already see how this movie is being built up. I can already see how stuff fits together, and I'm liking it so far.
We should point out something. Dean did more or less confirm at this point that the movie is set a year after the second. It's something we kind of already knew, but Dean has definitely come out and explicitly stated it at this point, so we know now.
Yeah, again, it also said here. It also said that the main narrative takes.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm referring to. It's like what you just read out is that it's now confirmed. Like there is no debate on it anymore. It's confirmed that the third movie is set 1 year after the second in terms of its main story, and that he also confirms in an interview from Annecy as well that we are going to be dealing with, a future timeline and possibly even a past timeline as well, and we'll see kind of like flashbacks, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Well, there will probably be flashbacks because we know John Butler has recorded lines for the film. I hear your silence. No, the joke has ran its course. We're not mentioning it.
Mm-hmm. Then moving on.
Moving on. Another apparently didn't in the panel, let's call it that. And the 2010 original charted Hiccup's reconciliation with his father, the second with his mother, the third with himself. That's something about. I really like those personal stories. The one with the character's main enemy is pretty much the character itself.
Mm-hmm.
I usually the story is interesting, which is probably why my niche genre, like the genre of films and TV that I like, even though a lot of it sucks, is high school movies and TV shows. I don't know, maybe that's that. But yeah, same Hiccup, a character which I already really like because I'm making a podcast about this thing. And so seeing him trying and pretty much find is with himself, his role, is facing the role, then possibly losing his best friend, the one thing that helped him the most throughout his life. This is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Agreed. I would agree. But I would say one thing that does bother me though is that Dean, right? He's still referring to Destiny, and I dislike that coming from How to Train Your Dragon. I dislike the switch. The first film felt like it was about more or less finding and just walking your own path. That Destiny had no part or played no part in that. And it seems like the second movie referred to Destiny more, and it seems like the third movie he's still doing that just as much, and I disagree, but it's very much a nitpick on my end, I guess you'd say. So it doesn't hurt the film, it's just me nitpicking it.
Yeah, but there is something, and I think to an extent that like the Darkest Hour episode of Race to the Edge kind of touched upon it, that Hiccup and Toothless were indeed destined to meet, but for a period of time. There was, at the end of the day, what am I trying to say here? I lost my point.
I get what you're going for. They were destined to meet, okay. But at the end of the day, they still played their own parts. But I still feel like showing them as being destined to meet kind of defeats the purpose of the first film, in my opinion. That's just how I feel.
Well, that's also how you yourself probably look at life sometimes, because there is a reason why people usually ask other people if they believe in destiny, because people who won't will say one thing and people who do will say another thing. So that maybe this has something to do with it. So with that said, do you believe in?
Do I believe in what?
Do you believe in destiny?
No.
Well, here's your answer to. Don't blame the director for your beliefs.
Still going to blame
him. This will actually be something like, do you believe in something? No, I blame this guy for. I blame this guy for it, for no reason. Okay, let's see. So ultimately, the road in letting things go, letting go of old ideas, insecurities, and sometimes of those who need to blossom and follow their own destiny. And in doing so, there is a great reward at the end. There is a transformation. an epiphany. He's referring to Hiccup parting, which I know will probably make me cry because I'm a sensitive bitch, but
Well,
that's
again, though, we see Hiccup as an older man. How old we don't know. Still with Toothless at some point. We don't know when that is. So they definitely, if they do part, it's not for long. But I think what you're going to, I think what he's referring to in this is letting go of old ideas, letting go of Berk and moving on from Berk. Instead of trying to continue to live on Berk, Hiccup decides to leave it and possibly go to the hidden world to live with dragons, right? And takes the rest of Berk with him, maybe. That, there's insecurities and other ideas, right? Or letting go of trying to live up to what Stoic said and instead following his own path. But again, the issue I would take with that, if it's the case, right, is that we're still kind of focusing on Stoic, and I get why, don't mistake me, but it would be interesting to see him, how he differs from Volca as well. And I assume the third movie is going to show that, considering as far as we know she's in the third movie, and as far as we can see, looking at the trailer, she's definitely, it looks, Cloud Jumper's in the third movie at least anyways.
yeah,
Assume she's there. I assume
also,
she's there.
Dean pretty much said that she is there, and I'm not sure that she may have been in one of the clips. I'm not sure.
She might have been.
But
what I'm saying though is that
the point is she's in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm saying though is that I'm interested to see if they butt heads. I'm interested to see if there's any differences that he says, okay, I'm going to change up how you view things compared to myself and follow my own path compared to you, not just my father, right? Like, I'm going to take my own path that uses ideas from both and forge my own way, right?
Yeah.
And I think, but ultimately, I think that's going to be what he decides to let go of, possibly. Maybe it's not just him letting go of Toothless, but it's him letting go of ideas from his father and from his mother and forging his own path based on those ideas.
Could be. And there's also something, because, with letting things go and, letting go of all the ideas, when you really think about it, creating a dragon and Viking utopia was an idea. Like as soon as we dragons could be trained, you could have argued that I started there. So,
True.
And yeah, he did manage to accomplish it for 6 years, and he fought for it. But at one point, and I speak from kind of experience because I needed to let go of something that was dear to me, and not too long ago. Won't go into details here, but there is a part of growing up knowing when you need to let go of something, even if it's hard, even if it breaks you. Sometimes you need to let go. That's the logical step forward.
Absolutely.
Seeing how these films are always touched about something regarding to life, like losing a family member, and losing a family member, something, believing in yourself, growing up. This is something that I like they're putting in there. So, looking forward to seeing that. Let me see here. Okay. So, from what I've heard, there were 2 other scenes, or maybe they were part of one of the scenes we talked about earlier. But for one, apparently the shot of Grimald that we see in the trailer with the dragon, apparently this does take place on Berk at Hiccup's house.
We did make that assumption that it looked like his house in that scene.
Well, now I believe confirmed that this is where this takes place.
Okay.
And the other thing, I've heard that there's a dialogue about, yeah, because with every traditional, people can like, we can trust dragons, and the villain says no, you can't trust dragons. And I've heard of that Hiccup does say like Stoic started to believe in dragons, and Grimmel actually tells them, and see where that led him. That's that's an interesting exchange for a lot of reasons, and to me, one of the reasons that it's interesting because, um, do you think Grimmel knows exactly how Stoic died?
I would assume no. I mean, again, if Drago is around, I guess his army was there. They could have told him, but I would assume no. But if he does, I wouldn't think it's out of place for him to know. But I would assume he doesn't know.
For all, because all we know about is that Drago's army is apparently in some sort of contact with him. That's the one thing we do know.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting change, though. And also, and this is something that I'm thinking about all the time. Ever since the second movie was over, and ever since I first watched it, the one thing that really fascinated me about this one is that, and they may go in the direction how much, Hiccup is still Toothless's best friend. Toothless is still Hiccup's best friend. They are still as inseparable as ever. I think, but do you think maybe at some point Hiccup does think about it, that at the end of the day, Toothless was that delivered the killing glass to Stoic? Do you think that maybe something to do with them parting ways? Like, I know that may not be the case, but think about it. Maybe there is a connection.
It's possible, but I don't think that's the angle they're going to take. It could be, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the angle they're going to try and go for.
It's one of those things we are to wait and see. But there's another thing in the trailer. It does say, "You're nothing without your dragon," and everything. He says all those stuff to Hiccup, and that does bring up the fact that maybe all of those talkings are. That's why I like about Grimmel in terms of the concept, that it does seem to play into the theme of the movie. Drago, looking back, doesn't really play into the theme as much. He's a good obstacle, but he doesn't play into the theme. So Grimmel does play into the arc of the film. So I'm cool with that.
I think he works with the theme decently well, but yeah, I would agree. There's definitely some. He doesn't play into it as much as it seems Grimmel might play into the theme of the third movie more. So I would agree. Overall, I think Grimmel is looking to be a stronger villain than what Drago was. It could turn out that he's not as good a villain, but it's looking like he'll be, so far from what we know and what we've read and heard, that he's going to be, at the very least, as strong as a villain, as strong as a villain as Drago was, or if not better, it seems.
Let me ask you this. The one thing we kind of knew for a long time is that the ending to this franchise will resemble the books. So, as someone who read the books, do you see, from talking about all the clips and talking about and the trailer and to piece everything together, do you see some elements from the book pop up? Do you get what people are talking about when they mention this?
At this point, I don't think it's going to end exactly the way the books end. From looking at everything, I think again, because the way it ends in the books is very much, the dragons kind of go away on their own. Like Hiccup makes a plan with, spoilers for the book, for the final book and the ending of the books and all that. Hiccup makes a plan with the Dragon Furious, and if things don't work out, then the dragons are kind of supposed to kind of go away on their own slowly and just kind of start hiding away. It looks, the way it looks so far, it looks like Hiccup's going to lead the dragons and the Vikings of Berk away, and they're all just going to hide away together themselves. So as it looks so far, the way it kind of feels like it's going. I could be wrong in that regard. So I would say maybe a similar idea of theme to the books in terms of leaving behind stuff or something in particular, but it doesn't look like they're going to be leaving behind the dragons necessarily.
Okay, so I guess we can end because apparently the quote Dean ended on was, "So what is Hiccup without his dragon? We'll have to wait until 2019 to find out." This is interesting because in the trailers we went on and on about how this is the friendship of a lifetime, and now the director himself is actually teasing that we are going to find out what is Hiccup without his dragon. And to be honest, this was something that we pretty much knew from day one on this film. We knew this may end up happening, but it is an interesting angle considering that your trailer just said the friendship of a lifetime, and it's going to pretty much show one of the like 50% of this friendship being alone without the other 50%. So sure. Anything you want to add to that, or
not much I can add to it. As I said, I don't think I think we'll see a portion of the movie of Hiccup and Toothless separated completely and trying to get along without one another, and I think we'll see like hints, and we'll see like different other aspects of them kind of going about their daily routines, I guess you would say, without each other and kind of drifting apart somewhat. But I do think as things go on, we will see them kind of back together again by the end of the movie in some way, shape, or form. Whether or not it stays is a different story, but I do think they are going to have them still stay together by the end of the movie.
Yeah, cool. Actually, this was the thing. There was apparently a street scene which implied at a wedding. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't, I don't go out of my way to ship them, but if there is, I'm not going to complain. Like, I'm perfectly fine with it. It doesn't kill my enjoyment of the film if there's a Hickstred wedding, right? It'll be fun to see. It's a nice little fun side thing that I don't have any problems with. I'm sure they'll do something fun with it, probably have Toothless and Nubless in a scene there somewhere, maybe also possibly kissing, as well as, Astrid and Hiccup. Then you might also see like a side shot of some of our side characters trying to be funny, like Arid or Rough Nut and Fish Legs and Snotlout. It could be some fun stuff there.
Could be. What did I want to say about this? Because I think oh yeah, here's what I think. People want the Hicks at the end of the day, right? People want it. People are crazy for it. People will kill for it, from what I've heard. So something times, and apparently since we can argue that ever since Hiccup and Astrid's betrothal, it's in Rest of the Edge, it's been now 2 years. Let's go with it. So in terms of actual Viking culture, this is a lot of time to be with someone and not actually being married to her. So I assume that historically this may be accurate and it will be adorable and everything. So sure, go ahead, do it. Why not? You know what? Better yet, do it because that way everyone could be quiet about it, and they will be live together, and they will live happily together forever and ever, forever and ever, and they'll have beautiful, perfect babies. I think there's a possibility for it. Guys with brown hair, girls with blonde hair have created beautiful babies before. I'm assuming this is going to be the case here, especially because the animators have power to make the babies perfect. As
Mm-hmm.
long as they are not the good. So sure,
Mm-hmm.
let them be married. Why not? The Berkcast would like to know that HC is not pandering to the audience, following some statements they made about Hicks trade in the season 6 review of Race to the Edge. Thank you and good night.
The Berkcast would also like to say that we do not stand with HC on anything that he says. If you have an issue with it, talk to him, not the Berkcast by and large.
Well, seeing how I'm pretty much the, I don't want to say face because they don't see us, but I'm pretty much you know what? I have no idea where we're all in this together. If I drown, you'll drown with me. Okay, yeah, but seriously though, sure, let them talk about it. Let them have kids. Why not? Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah. Like I
I
said, I
mean,
don't
it's
see
the end.
anything wrong with it being there.
Mhm.
If it
It's
was me, I still would have trolled people. I would have like shown you like a hint of it, and then just ended the movie there with nothing, just black screen.
and that's why you don't create kids films, Wolf. That's why you don't direct movies.
No, that's why I should, because people would be talking about it because they would have gotten a smidgen of what they wanted, but they wouldn't have got the full thing. And
There's
then
a
later on, you come out and say that, oh, we actually did fully animate that scene and everything. We just didn't put it in the movie.
so you wasted time on
Just,
animating a scene that's not going to be, and you know it's not like you dropped this in the editing. You're evil.
yeah,
You are evil
just to
and psychotic,
mess with
and
people, HC.
I'm not making a movie with you ever again because you clearly have no idea what budget constraints is.
No, I
You have
do. I just know that messing with people is also a lot of fun, and I'm going to take my chance to do it. And that's a way you can do it. And see, plus, I also know that marketing wise, people are going to be talking about the movie even more because you hinted at something and then later come out and said, yeah, we have this full thing, but we haven't released it with the movie, because then they're going to expect you to release a side thing, which makes your movie even more money, or makes you specifically your DVD sales and your Blu-ray sales and your digital sales. It makes you even more money on top of that because you say that scene that you wanted, that you got a smidgen of, but not the full thing, is actually fully animated and all of that in that. See?
well,
Thinking ahead, making even more money. And but also get to
and
just mess with people, which is also the greater thing for me.
and then someone leaks online and sell nothing on DVDs and Blu-rays.
But see, if it's leaked online, it's probably not as good. It's probably not going to be as good of a quality as it will be on the Blu-ray and whatnot. So you'll still sell some. That just helps you out because now they
Yeah,
know to expect it on there.
you know something? If can you see like someone actually doing on the Wikipedia page for a film when you see the budget at the bottom? And so you'll see like 150 million plus $10 million for Wolf trolling in the audience.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. I'll consider it once if I'll ever become a director in some sort of industry.
And it won't be 10
Um,
million. Again,
okay,
it's not like you're. Uh, it's not like you're not getting something from that scene, right? Like you spent that money, you're just holding it back just to mess with people and force them to go
okay.
out and buy your Blu-ray and DVD and whatnot because I'm a terrible human being.
Could be. Could be. I may have to. So anything else we got to footage? I think we covered all the grounds as well as some extra ground.
Mm-hmm. Um.
So
Yeah. No, I think we've, other than seeing ourselves, right? Like actually getting to see these scenes or anything else that comes out of Annecy, all we have to go on is like interviews and kind of what Dean has said and what the press has reported to us. But I think overall, this kind of just helps clarify things a bit more and gives us a little bit more of a clearer picture as to what the third movie is going to be. And I think hearing that Drago and his redemption story isn't going to be a part of the third movie, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be in the third movie, but it does mean that his redemption story isn't going to be in the third movie. This is something Dean has, explicitly stated that we rewrote the script. Drago's redemption story isn't in the third movie. This was an interview that came out of Annecy as well. So I think hearing that, I'm a little bit more confident in the third movie because now I feel like, okay, it's not trying to cover so much. And I think,
yeah,
Dean even said in that interview, right, that Steven Spielberg told him that this redemption
you don't
story
have
you're
the screen
trying,
time.
you don't have the screen time to give Drago this redemption story that you want. And the third film was starting to feel like How to Train Your Dragon 2 Part 2, and that it just wasn't as good. So him rechanging all the script and focusing more on Grimmel and all this other stuff, I think has, as he said himself, I think it served him better, and I agree. I think it has served the third film better, and I think the third film will be better for dropping Drago's redemption story. I would like to know more about Drago, and I'd like to see him become this character into his own more than what he already is, but not at the detriment of the third movie, right? So if dropping his
Yeah,
redemption story means we get a better third film, then great.
awesome. But looking back though, it could be for a different episode once we actually talk about Drago and what we think about the whole thing. So
Sure.
that's been all for this episode of the Berg. Hope you enjoyed. What do you think about the Annecy footage from what you've heard? What do you think about Drago not being in the film? What do you think about everything we just talked about? And Rush just logged in at the very end of the episode. Let's bring him in just for the. uh,
Go ahead. I'll wait.
so you're going to. I need to do this. Sure.
Before I end the
Let's see.
video.
No, don't end the video. Wait a second. How do I? Bells. No. Okay. For some reason, I can do this. Like, I. I cannot. I can't organize this. Hold on. Anyway, let's just close this. So that's been all for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. I also told you what you need to talk about. So whenever you can tell us about everything you thought about the Annecy footage in the comment section below. On Tumblr, where we are known as Berkcast Team. On Twitter, we are Berkcast with a capital B, capital C. And yeah, Rush, we are going to shame you because Rush is here. Hello.
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 Guess what?
I have no idea. I had absolutely nothing on my phone. I'm serious. And I even woke up at 10 o'clock because, first off, I got in at like midnight last night from the NHL draft. I woke up at 10 o'clock, saw nothing on my phone. So I'm like, oh, I think, didn't we talk about HC not doing this next week or this week, i.e.? And like, okay, I guess I'll just go. I didn't even think to turn on my computer or check Discord.
Well, guess at one point of the episode we are right now.
The end.
I was just doing the log off. But, you're here, so you read the stuff about the Annecy footage. Give us a quick thought. Some quick thoughts. What do you think about it?
So thank you for actually at least letting me join in at the very end, by the way.
You're a part of this as much as we are, so go.
It's a special
Yes.
bonus.
A special bonus indeed. And you get my morning low voice.
Mhm.
So I really like everything that I heard about. So if I remember correctly, in fact, I could probably pull up that link that I sent Here we go.
Mhm.
So we have the beginning, which is just Burke overcrowded. Why is it going back down? There we go. Okay. So the first one that they list on the link I sent, actually two above, is first date. It's where, Toothless is meeting Nubless, as we call her, and I think that was interesting the way they described it. As Dean says, there's no dialogue in it, and I always think that just given on the whole previous two movies, how now granted they usually do absence of music, which I really like, but if there's an absence of dialogue and they're able to pass off, um, what feelings are happening in a scene, that's really good. Just think about Wall-E, even though it's a Pixar movie, 70% of the movie has no dialogue in it, and you still know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to Automatic Tail, which is I'm pretty sure it's gonna give me the same feelings as Gift of the Night Fury, if I'm being completely honest. He makes the tail really excited, and then Toothless flies off after some. Although I'm guessing Toothless has some coaxing here, and then Hiccup's like, "Oh, I guess he can fly on his own now. He doesn't need me." Then there's a rescue mission. That one, I'm guessing, is the very beginning. Oh, yeah, there you go. The energy field opening sequence.
According to the footage,
So,
the beginning.
yeah. So they're saving dragons. I think it'd be interesting to see how they work together after all this time. It gives you a reintroduction to the dynamic between the characters. I think that's a good way to start the movie. Then we get into the larger, and I think the one that has the most scenes drawn about it part, Burke overcrowded. It's probably right after they get back, I think. And so it. I could definitely see Hiccup ignoring the fact that Burke is overcrowded with dragons. That's definitely Hiccup thing. And then we also have the Gobber. My favorite thing that I also hate at the same time, Gobber doing the marriage thing and then Hiccup just glossing over it. From what I understand, that may not happen. I don't know, but I think from Annecy, what they put out was a good selection. From what they decided to do, and it seems like this will. I can't say that it would definitely be my favorite movie from the beginning, but I can at least respect the way they're going, and I think it will be at this point from what they've started with. I can say it will be a good movie. Now it's up to them in the last, 90 minutes to make it a great movie.
Yeah.
And there you go, a 7-minute dissertation by Rush.
Okay, so that's been all for week's episode of the Berkcast, and a bit of Rush talking about what we talked about. We hope you enjoyed. Whenever you want to say, do it in the section on Tumblr, where we are Berkcast team. On Twitter, we are Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and we are all on the Hunt Dragon Discord and sometime on the Berk Online forums. So until next time, I was HC.
I've been Wolf.
I'll be here early, right on time next time as Rush.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.